The new Mi8 HGT is here, the high grip track conversion. I'm Robert and I'm going to talk you through it. This new HGT has some new features and I'm going to talk about the setup changes I made and the differences to the Mi8 regular kit. I have the conversion right here and you can see these parts are supplied by Schumacher. There's also a manual which you get with it. But these are the new parts, and let's start with the main chassis. I have a regular chassis and I have the new HGT chassis. And when I put them on each other, you can see some differences. The length has been the same. They haven't changed the length of the chassis. However, they made it a bit smaller on the area where the droop screw lands. So here there's a bit of a change, but they also changed the amount of carbon around these mounting positions for the lower arms. The width of the chassis has also been the same and hasn't been changed. And looking at the rear, it has become a little bit smaller. At the back it has become a little bit smaller, and the area where the droop screw lands is also a bit smaller. But another difference is that the mounting positions, and I'm going to change it a bit again, the mounting positions of the lower arms has also changed. The new HGT track has the lower arms mounted a lot closer together. At the front it's the same. And the other difference is, and that's pretty hard to show, but the other difference is that the bulkheads have become a little bit more closer to the center of the car. Another thing they changed are the shock towers. The shock towers has become different. The rear shock tower doesn't have that much differences. However, they've changed the mounting positions of the shocks. The shocks have come a lot more inclined, a lot more angled, but also the mounting positions have come a bit closer together compared to the regular Mi8 kit. They've removed a bit of material here to get a bit different flex feeling on the shock tower, but the front shock tower looks a lot different. The front shock tower flexes a lot more, and it uses the natural flex between the bulkheads because it has cut away a lot of carbon there. The mounting position also changed. The shocks have become more inboard and have become more inclined. The suspension arms are also different. You can see the front arm has a closed piece of carbon and has therefore become a little bit stiffer, and the rear arm looks a lot the same as the regular Mi8 arm. However, they have become longer, and the rear arms also have become mounted further, and therefore you have a shorter wheelbase. In total it has 2 mm shorter wheelbase than the regular Mi8 kit. Last but not least, the top deck changed, and the top deck has become a little bit shorter due to the bulkheads getting a bit more to the center. It looks a lot the same as the regular Mi8 kit, it just is a little bit shorter. Also provided with the Mi8 conversion kit are these small parts. You can see there are pulley fences in there, and you have to flip the belts and flip the diffs because the servo has been mounted a lot more inboards, and because you flip the belts there is some chance of the rear belt rubbing against the motor mount. And with this pulley spacer, it won't rub the motor mount. A good thing of Schumacher is they also provided the brass bushings you have to use on the droop screws. You have to pull them in the carbon, so you don't have to pull them out. There are just new ones in there. They also provided you with the regular screws you need, but the good thing I think is the new rubber O-rings. You know, the mounting of the balls in the suspension arms has been done with rubber O-rings, and you need to pull them off to change the arms. There is a chance of maybe you're cutting them through or damaging them, so Schumacher provides new O-rings, a good thing. Also new mounting positions, new mounting parts for the shocks, the lower parts. They used an Icon 2 part, and now they're Servo Standoffs, or they look like Servo Standoffs. It's just different, but it mounts the shock at a right angle, at a 90-degree angle, so it's easier to get there with your 2 mm screwdriver. I also have a build-up car here, so let's just change the camera to the cars. On the left side you see the HGT, and on the right side you see a regular Mi8. So I also talked about it, but the difference is the HGT has a shorter wheelbase. It also has more flex up front, and it has different mounting positions on its lower arms. You can also see that the servo has become way more inboard, and therefore the belts and the diffs are flipped on the other side. So, looking at setup changes for this car, there are some setup changes I made during testing. First of all, the angle of the shocks is quite different. You can see with the regular and the HGT track, the mounting positions and the shock angle is quite different, and therefore I tend to spring a lot softer. I'm running modified, and regularly with modified I'm using the core purple spring, the 2.9, and now with this HGT track I'm a lot softer and I'm at the orange 2.7, but I even want to go a little bit softer to have the great feel. Springing softer due to different mounting positions and due to these shocks being more inclined. The other thing is that the wheelbase has become a little bit shorter, like 2 mm in total, and therefore I find the rear end have a lot more rotation, and I choose to run 2 degrees of rear caster instead of 4 degrees. This is track depending, but I'm mainly using 2 degrees now instead of 4 degrees. It gives a way smoother feel getting into the corner and going through the corner, and calms the rear end a bit down, but still carries a lot of corner speed and has enough steering. The other thing I tend to do is with the Mi8 regular kit, I run 1 mm spacers on the lower mounting positions of the suspension arms, but with the HGT it feels better to have 0 shims and a lower roll center to carry the corner speed and keep the same amount of speed in the corner. So on the regular Mi8 I had 1 mm all around, and on the HGT I tend to use 0 mm all around, sometimes with some anti-dive at the front. That's the main differences I advise on you when you change to the HGT track. Let's be informed that you cannot interchange any of the new HGT parts with the old kit. The top deck is a millimeter shorter, so it just won't fit. The shock towers could fit, however the mounting positions are completely different, so I wouldn't advise on interchanging them. The suspension arms could fit, again I wouldn't advise on interchanging them. They have become longer, so you will change the complete wheelbase when you use the HGT arms on a regular kit. And last but not least, the chassis also changed. So you cannot just interchange these with the Mi8. The bulkhead position is different, the top deck is different, the position of the arms, the mounting holes are different, so it's not interchangeable. I really like my Mi8. The HGT car, it's fast, it has a great bigger setup window for my feeling than the regular Mi8. It carries a lot of corner speed through the corner, so I really like this new conversion.